Euler hack happened 13 March of 2023, a year ago, and it resulted in a massive, almost $200 million hack. But before jumping into hack, I'm Delirious. I'm independent security researcher doing private audits, team audits, competitive audits, and recently I joined and we together as a team called Duplete, we are doing competitive audits together, and in general we are doing audits together. So let's dive in. The main problem here was faulty function donate to reserves, which was created as a mitigation for older issue, and unfortunately it was audited. It has competitive audit run on Sherlock, and no one found this issue, and because of that the protocol was in huge loss. I bring up this topic today just because the Euler v2 contest is currently running on Cantina, and I do believe that it will help out many people to better understand first how Euler works, and two, the specifics of this hack. So at the beginning, let's start with Euler, what Euler is. Actually, it's decentralized lending protocol, so think Aave, think Compound. Euler was just another one of those. What set apart Euler was E token and D token. So we had E token, which represents your equity token. So this is the token that represents the collateral you put into the system, and it just is there for giving you yield from putting money into the protocol. And you have the opposite token, the D token, which is debt token, and it just means how much you borrowed from the system. So for example, we have E DAI and D DAI. So for DAI on cryptocurrency, we have two of those tokens. The same for USDC, we have EUSDC and DUSDC, and so on. Like every token had to have this in case of Euler. And now, important thing here to add is that both E token and D token had their rate. So the same as with, for example, Compound C tokens, you had balance of the token and balance of the underlying token, and balance of the underlying token was calculating using either lending rate or borrow rate. So if you don't know, I think all the protocol actually are using that. They are using this rate counter that increases slightly every day with like every block, and it's just a global measure of how much globally the lending rate and borrow rate is increasing. So for example, we have this counter at 1.001 with 18 decimal precisions, and after a month it grows to 1.003. The same can be, with borrow rate, which might be totally different accumulator. On the grand scheme of things, the situation is that when you deposit or borrow, you are receiving the amount divided by rate. Like this is general equation. It may slightly differ from protocol to protocol, but in general, this is how it's done. So for example, in this case, you want to put like 100 DAI to the system, or sorry, DAI is 18 decimals. So if I remember correctly, so let's say that you want to put in DAI token. Okay, so what you will get is 100 divided by this. Okay, what you will get, is this 100 DAI divided by this rate. So let's say that it will be like 98 or something like that. So a month later, this rate, global rate, is increased slightly. So now if you want to withdraw your money, the equation is similar. So say that then you are paying your 98. Oh, maybe I'll add that this is E die. Okay. So your equity die. So then you have your 98 E die, and now you are multiplying it by current multiplier, and let's say that you will have like 1 of 5 of die in return. So this is how the global calculator works generally in the protocols. E tokens and D tokens are symmetrical. That means that you can mint and burn simultaneously. So you can like increase both of your collateral and both of your borrow tokens. And you can also see that they can be treated as like the opposite forces. So for example, you can create a huge amount of E die and D die, and the collateral for the borrow token is just created out of thin air. So this is just a way to tell that you can leverage yourself for free. So if I remember correctly, in case of Euler V1, it was 18 times the collateral you have. So this is probably the most that you can leverage yourself. And now additional important topic, the account that is underwater, that does not have enough collateral to for the borrow that they took. It's called violator in Euler. So the account to be liquidated is called violator, the one that violated their borrowing rate. And of course, the one that liquidates the account is liquidator. Important topic here is that a liquidator has an incentive for liquidating the tokens straight from the protocol. So in case of Euler, the situation looks like that. Let's say that you have like 1 million of collateral, and you have 1,100,000 of debt. So now what you can do, what liquidator can do, they are liquidating the account and they have just to repay the percentage amount of the debt, and they get to take all the collateral. So let's say in case that the user has 20% amount less than amount required by health factor. So if they have 20%, the liquidator will get this 20% as a bonus for liquidation. And actually the 20% is the max that the liquidator can have. And still, this is very big incentive for the liquidator. So it's good to be liquidator. However, there's caveat to that. Of course, this only concerns the situation when the account is very much under the water, but it usually doesn't happen. The liquidators usually will jump on way before that event. So if there is like sub 1% incentive for that, because this is decentralized, so everyone can participate, and even the slight amount of benefit the liquidator can get will be executed by someone. So the very important thing here is to not allow to go the health factor underwater, like under 1, in the very short amount of time, because it will allow the liquidator to get up to 20% of the liquidation bonus. And now, having said that, Euler actually introduced new function which was called donate reserves, which did not have required checks and allowed anyone to perform such an action that should not be available to anyone. So this is EIP 14, the contract upgrades, and one of them in eToken is function donate to reserve function. According to this EIP, this allows user to donate some of their eTokens to the reserves. This may be useful for certain wrapper contracts and potentially could be a better way to burn dust in an account for gas refund purposes. And this is the diff. Those parts are not really required. But here we have this donate to reserves function. Well, the function itself is really simple. What you actually do, first you are updating average liquidity, so you are making sure that the user account has fresh state. So anything they put and any change, concerning this borrow rate and lending rate that I mentioned before, and that is updated to the current block. You are loading cash. So this is very specific to Euler V1 and V2. So you have, okay, so a few words about Euler in general. So Euler, this is one huge contract, which is just a dispatcher. So you can think about it as a diamond pattern. It's not technically a diamond, but it's written in this particular vibe. So that all the functions inside are dispatching their logic to specific modules. So eToken is one of the modules of Euler. dToken is one of the modules, the same with risk management. So to verify if the account health is above water or underwater, you have the risk management, which is dispatched to this particular contract, and because of that you have like a simple storage. However, because of gas savings, Euler is using this cash. So cash is meant to have the same value as storage, of course in the middle, before saving the cash again. So you can update cash in the middle of the function and then like save it to the storage, but generally it's meant to reflect what's inside the storage. And in case you have to do like multiple actions, because this is memory, it costs you less. This provides gas savings because you don't have to use storage each time. So as you can see, you can just verify how much amount you want to give to reserves. It can be any amount. You are encoding the new balance of the user. After that, you are updating, adding the reserve balance, so the balance that you just put to reserves, and emitting an event. There is critical flaw, the line of code that is not there. The line of code that is not there is verifying that the account status is healthy after this operation. And why would you need such a check? Because of this lacking check now, you can create a situation when you borrow some huge amount of tokens, you are donating your collateral token, and now you are under the water. So let's say that you have immediately like 20% less of collateral, and you are immediately under the water, and immediately you can be liquidated and you will get bonus. Okay, so you may think, but still, like, you would have to have your collateral tokens, wouldn't you? Yes, that's true, but we will see how the attacker overcame that issue. You might actually just have an idea, given what I already told you about Euler and symmetry between D tokens and E tokens and possibility of minting huge amounts of it. We'll get to that later in a bit, but you can stop this video right now and try to figure out it for yourself. So this was the faulty function. One last thing that may be useful for you, this is sub account ID. So Euler has this interesting logic that you may have, your address may have only one position. However, this is very unpractical. So what they do is they take first 19 bytes of your address as your prefix of the account, and they reserve last byte. So last 20, so last 8 bits, which can go up to number between 0 and 255, and they use this last byte as an indicator of your like virtual account position. Having that described, let's go through what really happened that allowed this hack. So first, the attacker took flash loan from Aave v2. In this case, we are looking at DAI token. There are multiple tokens that totaled 200 million. But in this case, we are looking at DAI. So first, you just have to flash loan the tokens from Aave, 30 million DAI, deploy 2 contracts, Violator, the one that will mint huge amount of E tokens and D tokens, and because of donate to reserves, he will be immediately underwater, and Liquidator, the account that will liquidate this Violator. Then you were depositing 2/3 of these funds to Euler using deposit. Sent 20 million DAI to Euler and received 19.5 million EDAI from Euler. Remember the borrow rate and lending rate that I spoke about? Next, you borrow 10x. So you are leveraging yourself by using mint. That means that the attacker receives around 200 million EDAI. And 200 million DDAI from Euler. Now, interesting thing, the attacker repaid part of the debt using remaining of the funds, and he repaid 10 million DAI. So why did he do that? That is because because of the mint, he was not able to borrow anything more. And now he leveraged himself, he repaid 10 million, so he again can take this 10 million, leverage himself again, and have some even bigger amount of money. So in this case, he repaid 10 million, and then he would take another 10 million. So he repeated this step, and he received 195 million EDAI, and now he has almost 400 million of EDAI. And what he does, he sends this 100 million of EDAI to Euler via donate reserves, and he is around 20% underwater. So this is the max amount that Liquidator can take. So now the Liquidator comes and liquidates the Violator's account using liquidate, and because EDAI to DDAI exchange rate was skewed due to this donate to reserves, EDAI was burned. The Liquidator receives 310 million EDAI and 259 million of DDAI of debt from the Violator. And now what's left to be done is to withdraw all the token from Euler using withdraw and repay your flash loan. And because Mint allows you to create D tokens and E tokens out of thin air, up to the huge amount as we saw here. The user just took 20 million of DAI and he turned that into 400 million of DAI. So he did not lose this 100 million eDAI from his account, but he actually burned the eDAI that was created out of thin air for the protocol. So this is the crux and the real issue. So it's not like the minting itself was a problem here, because if the donator reserves checked if the account really has enough funds, then there would not be such a problem. Okay, and having seen how the attack work on paper, let's see how it looks into DeFi Hack Labs, and how the attack was really happening, more or less. This is the implementation of the attack. So it shows the DAI token. So we have Euler protocol and violator and liquidator accounts. We'll go to them a bit later. So first up, setup. So we are just mostly setting the fork and at which block number we want to fork it. Just right before the hack happened, we are labeling all the addresses. It will be useful later when we run it. And we are testing exploit. So we have the amount. So remember, 30 million was the amount that was taken from Aave, and we are just encoding some params for it. And now, if you call Aave.flash loan, it will call you back inside this execute operation, always. So inside execute operation, here we are creating the violator account and later the liquidator account. We are transferring everything to the violator, and we do everything that we need to do, and then we take our liquidator and we are liquidating this account. So what do violator do? So it deposit 20 million DAI, then it means 200 million DAI, which is like 10x of the leverage, repays 10 million and means additional the same amount in case of this particular hack, and then just donates to reserves 100 million of DAI. And then after the violator does his job, it's liquidating it. So the liquidator calls liquidate. So they have return data that they get back from Euler, and just they can liquidate this account because of course it is underwater. They can just withdraw everything and transfer everything to the sender. So you can see that the attack itself for this particular DAI pool, like the attack itself is like 5 lines of code here and 5 lines of code here, really. So it's 10 lines of code to have everything exploited. What can be done to prevent such an attack? So yeah, of course, usually the problem is lack of security reviews. The team has either poor auditing services, or maybe they even did some changes that were not audited. However, in this case, the Euler, each chain that Euler is doing is being audited by someone, by some known name, and this particular change was also audited, and it was audited on Sherlock, and everyone missed it. So on the one hand, we can say that of course this is easy like if you know, if you've seen this attack and you know that you should always check for the account health, then this is easy to say that just check for that. But like the audit didn't find it. So I do think what could help any protocols in the future is to have written invariants of the system, like what cannot happen. So for example, allowing user health factor to drop in a single transaction below the liquidation threshold should not be possible ever. And of course, there are additional properties that can be checked. And of course, if you have invariants that cannot be violated, then you can create a fast tests and make sure that you verify all of those issues for you, and you don't have to check them every time. So if you have fast test, if you change something, you are making sure that it will be caught no matter what. And that's all concerning this hack. I hope you like it, and I see you in the next one.